You know, when you think billionaire, who pops into your head? For a lot of us, it's this guy, a super rich duck swimming through a giant vault of gold coins. Scrooge McDuck. He's more than a cartoon. He's basically the icon for being wealthy. But what if I told you his most famous trait, that incredible mountain of cash, is also his single biggest financial mistake? And I'm not just talking about cartoon money either. According to the Forbes Fictional 15, and yeah, that's a real list, Scrooge's net worth is estimated at a staggering $65.4 billion. It's a fortune that seems to be built almost entirely on that massive hoard of gold, making him fabulously, ridiculously rich.
So that brings us to the big paradox here, right? How can the richest duck on the planet also be a walking, talking example of what not to do with your money? It's a fascinating question, and the answer, well, it tells us a lot about how wealth is really built, and maybe more importantly, how it's kept.
All right, so let's dive right in. Why on earth would we call a financial genius with this much cash a bad investor? It sounds totally wrong, but trust me, the evidence is hiding in plain sight. See, the problem isn't the money itself. The problem is the vault. That gigantic money bin, Scrooge's absolute pride and joy, is actually a symbol of a colossal financial screw-up. Hoarding idle capital. In today's financial world, that pile of gold isn't just sitting there doing nothing. It's actively losing value every single day. And this is what we're going to call the money bin fallacy. It's this obsession with just piling up raw cash instead of putting that cash to work. And look, it's a natural human instinct, right? Hoarding stuff feels safe, it feels secure. But to see why it's a total financial disaster, we've got to look at a really core economic idea.
And that idea is opportunity cost. You can think of it as the ghost of the money you could have made. Every single dollar Scrooge has locked up in that vault is a dollar that isn't out there in the world making more dollars through investments, through dividends, through interest. He chose the fun of swimming in it over the much smarter alternative of growing it.
Let's just put some real numbers to this. Imagine Scrooge took just a tiny slice of his fortune, say $100 million. If he just leaves it in the vault, inflation slowly nibbles away at its buying power. But what if he just put it in a simple S&P 500 index fund? Well, the magic of compounding growth would have made its value explode. That huge gap you see between those two bars? Yeah, that's his opportunity cost. We're talking billions of lost dollars.
So this brings us to the big metaphor for this whole explainer. You have to ask, is your capital a money bin? Just a stagnant pile of cash slowly being eaten by inflation? Or is it a power plant, a dynamic engine, where capital is constantly circulating through productive assets, generating energy, and creating real growth? Scrooge's vault, it's the ultimate money bin.
Okay, so if the money bin is such a financial black hole, how is Scrooge still so unbelievably rich? Well, this is where we uncover the real secret, the vault. It's a complete distraction from where his actual genius is.
The truth is that money bin is basically just for show. It's misdirection. Scrooge's real, lasting wealth doesn't come from that pile of gold. It comes from his huge, diversified, global company McDuck Enterprises. While everyone's staring at the shiny coins, his true power is in all the assets you don't see. And just look at the scope of this operation. It's not just one thing. He owns everything from the mines where he first struck it rich to railroads, banks, steamship lines. He's even got his beak in forward-looking stuff like space exploration. Now this isn't hoarding. This is smart, aggressive diversification. And here is the truly brilliant part. It's how all these pieces fit together. Scrooge is an absolute master of vertical integration. See, he doesn't just own the mine that digs up the gold. No, he also owns the railroad that ships it, and he owns the bank that finances the whole operation. By controlling every single step, he makes a profit at every single stage.
Now, this isn't just some silly cartoon logic. This is a powerful strategic moat that protects his empire from competitors. And think about it, it's the exact same playbook used by modern giants like Amazon. They control the cloud servers, the warehouses, the delivery trucks, and the website you buy from. It's the McDuck model.
But the lessons from Scrooge's empire go way deeper than just finance and corporate strategy. They actually get into the very culture of a business, its foundational DNA, and yeah, the bad guys it's always fighting off.
Let's talk about his most prized possession, the #1 dime. Its value has nothing to do with being 10 cents. It is a purely symbolic asset. It represents the grit, the struggle, the hard work. His entire philosophy of being harder than the hardies and smarter than the smarties.
And this leads to a super important lesson. Every great business needs an origin myth. It's that powerful story that basically encodes its cultural DNA. Think about Hewlett-Packard starting in a garage, or Nike's co-founder literally using a waffle iron to invent a new shoe sole. That's their #1 dime. It's a story that reminds everyone what the company is all about.
Of course, you can't just have a great story. You've got to protect it. And you definitely can't talk about Scrooge's vault without talking about the endless attempts to break into it. The Beagle Boys are this constant threat, and it forces him to invest a ton in security. And guess what? This gives us another perfect metaphor for business today.
Because today, the Beagle Boys aren't a bunch of guys in masks trying to crack a safe. They're sophisticated ransomware groups halfway across the world. The biggest threat isn't someone stealing physical gold from your vault. It's someone stealing your intellectual property right off your servers. Scrooge's obsession with physical security is a direct parallel to the absolute need for top-notch cybersecurity today. So after breaking down Scrooge's entire operation, the good, the bad, and the brilliant, it all really boils down to a simple choice in how you look at and use your resources.
So let's just quickly recap the big takeaways from the McDuck empire. First, just hoarding cash is a guaranteed losing strategy thanks to opportunity cost. Second, real, lasting wealth is built on a collection of productive, diverse assets. Third, controlling your supply chain, that vertical integration, creates an insane competitive advantage. Fourth, your company's origin story is a massively important cultural tool. And finally, in our world, your digital data is your new gold, and you better protect it that way.
And that brings us to the final and most critical question. A question for you. When you look at your own strategy, your own business, or even just your own career, are you building a money bin? A stagnant hoard of resources just sitting there? Or are you building a power plant, a dynamic system designed from the ground up to generate perpetual growth? The choice really is yours.